Adriana Smith was a couple weeks pregnant and she started having headaches. She went to the doctors and the doctor said, "I think you're fine, send her home with some medicine." When she got home, she had some really bad problems because the truth was she wasn't okay. Well, the next morning she woke up gasping for air. She couldn't breathe. She was transported to the hospital immediately. And doctors then, upon a closer examination, found out she had blood clots in her brain. And shortly after that, they declared that she was brain dead.
She went to the hospital 8 weeks into her pregnancy, complaining of a headache, and just hours later, doctors declared her brain dead. It's a story that's making headlines all around the globe, sparking debates over Georgia's heartbeat law.
Now, if this was almost any other circumstance, doctors would say, look, Miss Smith is not able to make medical decisions for herself. Does she have any wishes written down? Did she have a power of attorney? Did she have someone put in charge of her wishes if this situation happened? Or if not, who is the family member that's going to make these decisions? That's how this would typically work in almost any other situation. But what's different here is that Miss Smith was pregnant. She was 9 weeks pregnant. This is not a video about abortion. This is a video about whether the government should make private decisions for private people. Under the law, doctors said, family, you do not have a choice. Does not matter what her wishes would have been. Does not matter what your wishes are. We cannot allow her to pass away because doing so would her unborn fetus. She has no brain functioning, she has no ability to ever recover, and her family is not allowed to be involved in the process because the law decides what does or does not happen to her body. Since the 9-week mark of her pregnancy, since she's become brain dead, she has been at a hospital, racking up medical bills, with her family right by her side, helpless, not able to do anything. And now 14 weeks have passed, and she's still in the same exact place. And what we've learned over those 14 weeks, what doctors have learned and shared with the family and shared with the media, is that the chance of success of that baby is extremely low. The baby has some problems with fluid in its brain. What is the family going to be left with? They're going to be left with weeks of standing idly by, unable to do anything. Miss Smith has another child who believes that his mom is just sleeping and is going to wake up and has been visiting his mom and doesn't understand what's happening. Miss Smith's family is likely going to incur a mountain of medical bills. They've been interviewed and quoted in articles explaining that it's not their choice for this medical care to be given.
We didn't have a choice or a say about. And I just want to be clear on something. We want her to have her baby. But at the same time, to see her lay there like that, the grieving process, it can't even start.
Hopefully it won't destroy their lives financially. I would hope to hell that the hospital does not even send a bill. If they have health insurance, I hope that bill gets submitted to health insurance. Anything that doesn't get paid gets completely written off. Imagine that they send the bill to health insurance and the health insurance says, no, this wasn't medically necessary. This wasn't requested by the family. We're not going to pay it. I think that would be an incredibly interesting legal predicament for everyone involved because you have the hospital saying it was necessary because it's required by law. But the hospital is also saying, well, it's not actually medically necessary, though. We don't have to do this. Family's saying, we don't know what we would have done, but we don't like the idea we were forced to do this. And then you have health insurance saying, we don't want to pay the bill because it wasn't medically necessary and you had other options. I think that's incredibly interesting. Let's say this was a different family who happened to have all the money in the world and they lived in Georgia or a state that has a similar law. Person was in the same situation as Miss Smith. What options does that person have with all the money in the world? Well, they could transfer their loved one to a different state and then they could carry out the procedure of their choosing. Are these laws fair? Are laws that discriminate in a lot of ways based on income, are they fair? I would tell you the answer is no. If we're going to leave things to the states, why stop there? Why don't we leave stuff to the county? Why don't we leave stuff to the city? Why don't we just leave stuff to individual people to make their decisions? Because isn't that better than leaving it to the federal government, the state government, the local government? Let's just leave it to ourselves. I think the government does a lot of positive things and provides services, but I also think the government should stay the hell away from me for the most part. When it comes to personal medical decisions, I don't think the government belongs in hospitals. I believe it should be a decision between me, my doctor, and potentially my family.